This podcast is for general information purposes only and is not intended to create a physician-patient relationship. It is also not intended as a substitute for diagnosis, treatment, and/or advice by a qualified healthcare provider. Please promptly schedule an appointment with a qualified healthcare provider if you have a healthcare condition that has not been diagnosed or that is not under the regular care of a healthcare provider, or you're considering changes to your diet or exercise routines. Please refrain from self-diagnosis and/or self-treatment. And if you have a medical condition situation that may be urgent, then you should immediately report to the nearest emergency room.
And flat tires called jobs. But if you have a spear called determination and an engine called perseverance, with insurance called faith and the drive to make it, you'll reach a place called success.
Hey, it's Dr. J. Welcome to Reach a Place Called Success. I am here obviously with Molly Rose Hoffman. She's a functional and holistic nutritionist with over 10 years of experience. She's trained and studied with some of the top leaders in the field. She's currently acquiring her master's in clinical nutrition and integrative health. She practiced in New York City, helping her clients heal through the use of food and herbs. And obviously you'll see here today how passionate she is about that and her project. So welcome. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Intro. That's always cool to hear.
Wow. It's you. You're cool.
Oh,
Always enjoy talking to you. So just to give a little bit of background, we are friends. We are also fellow yogis. So we go not too far long back, but we obviously have a friendship and a kinship that is both with the yoga community and through nutrition. So I'm so happy that you're here.
it feels like we go back farther than we do. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And now with this crazy world, we're seeing each other not at the coffee shop, but virtually at our coffee shops. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's crazy that we're doing this virtually, that the world is in the place that it's in, but I'm very grateful to be able to do this.
Yeah. So you're safe. Everybody's happy and healthy, and
Everybody is happy and healthy and making the absolute best of the situation that we're in. Still working every single day, talking to clients every day, and just trying to make the best of this. It's been different, but it's been a really interesting learning experience for me, at least.
so these virtual meetings, is this typical now, or is this, do you do things mainly just over the phone?
For me, for my business, I
Yeah.
work virtually all the time anyways, because I live in New York City, obviously, but I have clients in London, I have clients in San Francisco and Colorado and LA. So this is really typical for me. I'm very comfortable working virtually. Even in New York City, I'll have clients who will FaceTime me from 5 blocks away, just because it's nice. And I always feel like my work is done the best when everyone's kind of comfortable, and everyone's so comfortable when they're at home. So
It's true.
that's how I do it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
All right. So let's get to a little bit of what everybody is here for. Functional nutrition, first and foremost. Can you give a definition of that holistic component of it? Just give a little background of what actually that is.
Yeah. And I will probably answer this differently than almost anyone else that you talk to, who uses that terminology. And what I like to say is functional nutrition is nutrition with a purpose, with a function, because it's so easy to look at a celebrity or talk to your friend or your mom or your sister or your father, your brother, and hear about a specific diet they're doing and read about a specific diet and think like, oh, that sounds good. That looks healthy. That has a lot of vegetables or protein or whatever it is, but it's not designed for you. So it's not going to be very effective, in my opinion. And functional nutrition is specifically catered towards the function and chemistry of your specific body. where it is right now. So I will start with a client and I will give them, structure around food and herbs. And then the next time I meet with them, it's absolutely going to change because their body is in a different place every single day. And definitely after being on a specific diet for a couple of weeks, their body is going to be in a better place. And then we adapt and change as needed. So that's kind of the first part of it. And the second part of it is if you come in for a session and you're 35 years old, you have 35 years of accumulated toxicity, bacteria, emotional trauma, stress built up in your body. So we have to also treat all of that with food and herbs and detoxification. Otherwise, we're only addressing 50% of the problem. So we put in the good while we're simultaneously removing and detoxifying the quote unquote bad, so that when we're done, you feel like yourself again. You've replenished, but we've also healed and removed what does not need to be there and what's been weighing you down for probably a really long time. That was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No. This is a long-winded podcast. So what I took a lot of that information. We're going to get into some of the details, but what I do take from that is that it's very individualized.
Yes,
that's one of the most important factors that I see that differentiates you and the way that you're approaching this versus some of the ways that, from a nutrition standpoint, things are to a certain degree more of a one-size-fits-all approach. That individual approach is very unique to you. So before we get into some of the nitty-gritty, walk me through, how did you get here? Like, from what was your initial interest in this? Have you always been involved in nutrition, or is that something that's relatively new?
Ooh, if you thought my other answer was long-winded.
No, say it again. You got the floor.
Okay. So, when I was in college, I used to have a lot of shoulder pain. Like, they would just get super tight. And I remember I would have to sit on the edge or the aisle of whatever class I was in because I was always sort of rotating my shoulder back and forth. And so I got into yoga when I was at school. I went to school in Dallas and I loved it. Obviously, a million years later, I'm still doing it and teaching it. I loved it. And I started to realize that if I ate better the night before I practiced, my yoga practice would feel a lot more enjoyable and effective. So my yoga practice really started motivating me to just eat better, drink less, sleep more. And I thought that was really cool. So when I graduated from college, I knew that nutrition was sort of an interest of mine, but I really didn't want to go back to school at that time. I was just sick of being in class, sick of homework, sick of exams, sick of studying. And I just, I didn't do it when I graduated. I had a million other jobs between then and now. And I remember I was working in real estate in New York City on a top team there. And I was crying every day before and after work because I was so miserable doing my job. And I knew that I had to go back to school and do it. And around the same time, I was personally struggling with a lot of health issues. I had come off of the birth control pill, which I had been on for 10 years, not because I wanted to have a baby, but because I had just done a lot of research and I thought, okay, this probably isn't very good for me, these synthetic hormones. I'm just going to kind of come off of it. And I didn't know the repercussions of that decision were going to be so intense and drastic. And I was fine for a while, but 6 months after coming off the pill, I gained like 20 pounds. And by the way, I was a yogi who was very aware of nutrition. So I was eating really well, drinking juice and smoothies and no gluten, no dairy, all the things. And this is why custom nutrition and detoxification is so important. This is sort of what set up my practice now as my own experience. So I gained 20 pounds. I started getting acne, which I'd never had. I went to the doctor, endocrinologist, because I figured that was the best place to go. And they told me that I was pre diabetic. My thyroid was enlarged, and they offered me metformin as like the solution to this problem. And I was like, interesting. Like, that seems interesting. I understand why you gave me metformin to bring my blood sugar down, but I don't want to take this unless you can tell me why, when I came off the pill, all of a sudden these issues came to be. And the interesting part was that none of these doctors understood why I was asking this question.
Sure.
They were looking at me like, why are you asking this question? And I was like, well, I have to think the two are related. I had none of these issues before. Now all of a sudden I'm pre-diabetic. I'm a second away from getting hypothyroidism. I I have all these issues. What's up? I'll take this. I will take this medication, but I want to know why. And no one could tell me why. I went to two endocrinologists. I went to my internist, two different internists. I went to an infectious disease doctor because I thought, okay, maybe I have an infectious disease and it's just attacking my organs. I don't know. Nobody could help me. So I was trying to figure it out by myself. And no one could help me, by the way. So I ended up just taking nothing. And my symptoms definitely got worse. And I learned a lot about myself in the process. I enrolled in my first nutrition program. I started like diving deep into how food can heal you. And then I ended up connecting with this woman who was like a holistic healer. And she kind of said, no, you can definitely heal your body. And it was the first time I had heard someone say you can heal your body. I'd never even heard that terminology before. And I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. And
How long ago was that?
that was like 4 years ago. So she kind of helped me heal my body, or at least kind of opened my eyes up to the possibility of this happening. And then I kind of enrolled in my master's program, and I started digging deep into the science of all of this, because as much as I believed I could heal my body, I'm a very much like how, what, who, why is this happening kind of person. I want to know how this is going to happen. I want to know the science, the facts behind, okay, if I take this and eat this, what is going to happen to me? My physiology. Like, I don't want to just say kale is good for me. I want to know why kale is good for me. I'm that person.
Okay.
So, long story long, I went through my own healing process, and it really motivated me to help everybody else who is struggling to heal themselves, who's confused, who has diagnoses they don't understand, because I believe knowledge is power. So you can get a diagnosis and not understand it, and that's really frustrating, and that can delay your healing process. So I've had a lot of disease in my family. There's been cancer in my family. There's been chronic Lyme disease in my family. I've seen hypothyroidism in my family, obesity, prediabetes, so many things. And I have seen alternative and holistic medicine, functional nutrition. I've seen how that can play a role in saving a life. And I knew that I had to be a part of it. So that's what I'm doing now. That's what brought me here. I've seen miracles happen in my own practice, in my own family. And it's really amazing. And I am so grateful to be able to do it, to have been sick myself so that I can learn from it, that while I was struggling, I didn't understand why me. I kept asking, why is this happening to me? I'm a yogi who eats kale. This can't happen to me. And it did. And I'm so grateful that it did, because I learned so much about the healing process, physically, mentally, emotionally, that I implement with my clients now. And nothing has ever been more effective. I've never seen people heal the way that they can heal now. So
I love it. That's one of the things, when I first met you, that passion that comes through with what you do and why you do what you do. And it's an interesting situation, because I think that that's a common thread with people that are passionate about their career choices in general. And especially when we're talking about health related career paths. I, as a physician, and many physicians, I'm going to speak for a lot of us. The fact is that, you're heavy in science, you want to help people, but there's this track that is essentially outlined for you. And you go through the process, you learn about every, pathophysiology for disease process, and you're given essentially a way to try and treat patients that's based on evidence, right? And that's where you ran into the endocrinologist, right? You're one of those patients, and you come in and you have this and this and this. And in order to treat you as a patient, well, we need to get your diabetes under control. So here's a medication to try and help manage that. Mm-hmm. You, and how you found this passion, is that you went through it, and you weren't wanting to just take a pill to try and solve a problem. You wanted to find out what the problem's source was. And I think that that's where your passion and that individual, nutrition plan plays a role, is that everybody's different. Everybody's got a different story to tell. And unless you actually go back and listen to the patient, you're just going to be treating the symptoms, not identifying what caused the problem to begin with. So I love that approach. It's really, really.
Oh, look, we tried to have that not happen. Look, it happened anyways.
This is where the fun is with this new process. Is we're learning how to fly.
I don't know. So that's definitely.
Maybe you should answer it. Maybe you should answer it. Is it a client?
What'd you say?
Is it a client?
No, it was my sister. So, but she was
totally just add her in. That would have been pretty funny.
So, yeah. And I think also that's, by the time my clients come to me, they're so frustrated, they're a little bit pissed off because they've been through the ringer with treatment that is not individualized. So it never worked. So I always sort of have to talk them off the ledge and say, okay, I know you spent the last year and a half with your doctor trying to get better and it's not working. So after a month working with me, they're frustrated still. And I just say, okay, you've had this issue for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Some people say my whole life I've been X, Y, and Z. So I always say, be patient and just know that to heal your body authentically, it's going to take months and months and months, because it's not a pill. We have to replenish your body from what it's lost, and we have to go through and peel out layers and layers of toxicity from your blood, from your liver, from your colon, all those places. And everyone's different. Everyone holds it in a different place. So it's
setting those expectations right on the first visit, I think, is critical. And then, do you dive into the whole story? I want to hear the whole story so that you have in your mind what their concerns are, and how to approach the patient to begin with. Talk me through the initial evaluation.
My first session is 75 minutes, but to be honest, it's almost always 90. So I always buffer in an extra 15 minutes for myself, because it's almost never less than 90 minutes. And I want to hear about why they've come to me, what brought them in. I take an entire health history from day one of their life. I say, go all the way back to day one. And they look at me like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? And it's unbelievable how many things come out from day 1 to year 7. Like there's just so much that I think is important. So I hear the whole life story. If someone says, oh, I have psoriasis now, no one can seem to help me, and then I ask them their health history and it turns out they've been constipated since age 7 and they're 45. Yeah, I think that's really significant. So I take an entire health history. I look at all of their blood work that they brought in, because generally by the time they come to me, they've been everywhere. So I have a lot of data to look at. And if they don't have that, a lot of people just want to get started and they don't have that. I say, okay, come in, we'll get started. And then when you're feeling better, you'll go to your doctor and get fresh lab work done. But if you're already feeling bad, there's almost no point in going right now, because we know that you don't feel well. So let's get you feeling a little bit better, and then go to your doctor, and he'll draw your labs, and then we'll continue. So yeah, we do the 75-minute/90-minute initial intake. And then after that, I like to follow up with my clients about 10 days later, after they've sort of started on their hydration, nutrition, supplementation. It almost always starts there. I don't really start any sort of detoxification for several weeks, sometimes months, because if you start detoxing and your body isn't strong enough for that, you're just going to make the problem worse. And then after that, I see my clients every 2 weeks for as long as it takes for them to feel honestly 100%. I have a client who I've been working with for a year and 3 months, and she came to me. She was on pain medication, IBS medication, Synthroid, she had hypothyroidism, all of these things. And as of last week, I talked to her. She had been taken off every single one of those medications. She felt really healthy. She told me she wanted to come off her medications. And I said, I don't do that. I agree that it's probably time, but go back to your doctor, let him do that. And he drew her blood. He talked to her. He agreed, and was also like flabbergasted that he was able to say, okay, come off all 3 at once. And he pulled her off all of her medications. And then I met with her one more time. She said she had never felt better. She was thinking about maybe having a baby, getting pregnant, which I almost cried, because that never would have been the case a year and a half ago when we first met. And now we're done. I said, I don't know what else you want to do. Like, you're in a perfect place. I don't even know what to do with you. So maybe after your baby, we'll regroup. But
So those are the stories that what I'd actually like to start posting more of, like on my Instagram. So you just start keeping a tally in your head, and ask your clients. It's kind of like a testimonial to you, but it's also kind of one of those things for our followers to be able to say, oh, okay, this is the type of person, this is the experience. And it'll just be like a simple post, but it'll also be something that, people be able to then obviously reach out to you if that's something that they're all struggling with.
yeah, I would love to help anybody that wants my help. And that's, people always ask if I'm taking new clients, and I'm like, yes, not tomorrow, because I do my schedule is full, but I'm always, if someone comes, then I'm helping, period.
This is the only downside that I see to your method, is that it's time consuming. This is not a one size fits all. You get thousands of people that now want you. You don't have thousands of hours every day to see new clients.
I don't. I've thought about, part of me really wants to teach other people who are passionate about this. Part of me wants to start like training other nutritionists about it. I have to give it a lot more thought. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I have a lot of clients who are nutritionists who have asked me, like, can you do a formal training? And I'm like, I'm thinking about it. I'm definitely thinking about it. And the other part of me, this is like the control freak probably part of me is like, well, what if they don't do it right? And then I feel like maybe I've done someone a disservice at the end of the day, because there's a lot of science and fact finding that goes into this work for sure. And there's a lot of intuition too, so you can't, that's not really something you can teach at the end of the day. And I think that's where my yoga practice has been so part of what I do, because as you know, it really teaches us how to follow and listen to our intuition.
Yeah.
It's a really big part of holistic health. It just is. And I know that maybe as a physician, you're like, oh, I don't know. Or people listening are like,
I've drank the Kool-Aid, so I'm right there with you. So let's talk about that first section of time that you initially see a client, you do the full history,
Mhm.
and you get them on um, uh, a regimen that will essentially get them stronger, feeling better, quote unquote, buying into that this is the right approach
Mhm.
before you get into the detoxification. Um, are there certain ways, or what's your approach to doing that? Do you start with the gut health? Do you start with across the board? You try and cater specifically different areas from a organ system standpoint? Kind of give me an example.
Yes. Yes. And everyone is different. So sometimes someone will come and they have a lot of physical issues, but they are mentally exhausted from trying so hard for years with no success. So while the science nerd portion in me and the impatient, we're all a little bit impatient. Like, I want my clients to have success day one in their physical bodies, because of course that's why they're here. But if someone comes and they're just emotionally wiped, I am not going to take away all of the foods and things that just give them a little bit of joy throughout their day. And I start working on their emotional healing first. Like, oh, you're a painter and you haven't picked up a paintbrush in 5 years. Like, let's get you painting, let's get you outside walking, let's get you sleeping, all of the things, like the not sexy things that are part of this, but so crucial to healing physically. So that could be an instance where I actually don't start in the physical body at all, and it's just sort of emotional and mental healing. And then there are people who come and they're like, okay, I have such bad bloating when I eat that I take 3 bites of food and all of a sudden it looks like I'm 6 months pregnant. Men and women have told me that, by the way. And yeah, I'll definitely start in their gut with that point. But no, there's obviously a reason why that's happening, whether that's their digestive system isn't kind of working and clicking along the way that it should. There could be a buildup of bacteria in there. There could be a buildup of yeast and fermentation in there. It's probably all of the above. But we can't go cleaning out yeast if somebody is not going to the bathroom, because we're
Sure.
killing yeast, and then where's it going? So then they're going to feel worse. So I get them really hydrated. Every single person, all my clients know, like day one, we're going to get you hydrated.
Walk
Uh,
me through that. Like, what is the what?
that
Walk.
was your phone.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
What are you gonna
So, is it primary thing water, or you just like drink as much of whatever you like to drink? What's the amount? Like, what do you go through?
say? So we need to put minerals in our water. We all do, because the minerals are stripped out of our water, because there's chlorine in the water now. There's heavy metals in the water. We're filtering our water. So nobody's really getting the minerals that they need. So I always have my clients put minerals in the water, whether that's through really great formulated electrolytes, whether that's through lemon juice and a little salt, whether that's through coconut water, like adding a little coconut water into your water. It really depends on the person, because if somebody has, acid reflux, or any sort of like esophageal really bad pain, which is also common, I'm not going to have them put lemon in their water on day one. So it's really dependent on what is going on in their bodies, but everyone is hydrating. It just shows like how custom this really needs to be. If it goes all the way down to the water, are you drinking water in the right way for you? Never more than 20 ounces at one time. I hear people say, I drink a gallon of water in a day. And then sometimes it's 7 p.m. and I realize I haven't had any water. So I'll chug 3 liters before bed. And I'm like, whoa. So I'm like, so we have to it's just, 20 ounces every couple hours. If you're 6'7" and 250 pounds, you're going to need more water than someone who's 5 foot tall, 100 pounds. So, yeah, it's so custom, but we get them drinking water. I call it, we upgrade the diet, so if they come in day one and they're eating pizza and French fries, they're not going to be eating steamed broccoli and green juice the next day. That's just not realistic or sustainable. So, something that one of my mentors taught me is because we're all impatient, we want the best for everybody day one. But she always said to me, Molly, you got to love them where they're at. And that was just powerful for me, because anytime I feel myself wanting to jump the gun with my clients day one, I hear that voice in my head, and I just say, love them where they're at, love them where they're at, and that's how we keep this authentic and sustainable.
You said that the other two words that were very important there is realistic and sustainable, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be giving them something, the broccoli diet or whatever, that that there's no way anybody could survive just on broccoli.
Right.
Want it. Even if they love broccoli, they're going to hate it in week 3 if that's all they're eating. So you got to make sure that it's something that is, sustainable.
Yeah. I had somebody reach out to me on Instagram the other day who I kind of know. They were interested in working with me, and they said, hey, I know you eat a lot of plant-based foods. I'm not really into that. Could I still work with you? And I wrote them back like, oh my God, 100%. That is what works for me. And I will have clients who come to me as vegans and it's not working for them, period, end of story. And I take them off the vegan diet. And I'm like, I love a vegan diet. I'm a big fan. It's great for a lot of people. It's great for the environment, all of those things. And it doesn't work for everybody. It's biology. It just doesn't. So I will help them implement a diet that will work, that might involve some animal products. So it's really different for everyone.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Bologna for everyone. So, the
my
other thing
favorite food, by the way. Not bologna.
Whose favorite food?
Mine. I loved it.
What?
Bologna and peanut butter and jelly. Oh
I'm recording this, right?
I know. Those were my two. Well, look at all the health issues I had when I grew up. So wouldn't recommend it. Don't feed your kids that.
Yeah, I did graduate work up in Buffalo, and go to Buffalo football games. They would have fried bologna sandwich, a thick cut of bologna, center. They'd make it the slit, so put it on the grill, fry it up, and put it on a sandwich. Yeah, that was back in the day. That was like heaven right there. So
100%. I was the chubbiest kid growing up, so I was like bologna and
that'll do it.
The Snickers ice cream things. Remember those? So I used to eat those while at tennis camp. So I felt like I was kind of evening it out.
Sure. Yeah. So the other part of this, and you started to say it though too, in one direction, where you have to take kind of baby steps with a lot of people. Other people, it's like smoking. I've said before, when they're ready, they're ready.
Yeah.
So you can ride the waves, so to speak. If they are motivated, they're showing that they're doing it. You can push on the gas and give them the full kit and caboodle right out of the gates and have better success, because again, it's all up in here. If they're ready to take that next step, which the first step is obviously making the phone call and making some type of connection with you. But if they're ready to go and move to that next level, then you can really have better success at a faster pace, which is what you're obviously looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I want everyone to get the success that they're looking for, that they're paying for immediately. Like that's what I want for them. And it's I am so clear on this when anyone comes to me, and it's all over my Instagram, it's all over my website. If you're looking to meet with me one time and I give you a diet and a list of supplements and say, see you later, that's not how I do it. That's not how I roll. That's not what I do. I don't believe in that. I think that is a bunch of, um, you know,
You can
focus. That's not what I was going to say, but that's what came out. That just doesn't work. It may work for someone for a couple weeks and then all of a sudden they're back at square one. I believe that we have to heal the body layer by layer. We're like big onions. That's all we are. We have all these layers to us. And if somebody comes in and they're like, yes, I am ready to go pedal to the metal, they're excited. I am excited that they're excited. Their body's in a strong place. They're able to sort of jump right into maybe a really specific diet. And then a couple weeks later, we're like right in the detoxification. That's amazing. I love that. It's always really fun. And those personality types too, they get impatient very quickly,
Sure.
very quickly. So they might email me a month after we start and they're like, well, why don't I see the results that I want after a month? And I'm like, we are like just right here scratching the surface for the results that you specifically want. It's going to take 6 months of this kind of enthusiasm, this kind of momentum. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, you told me that like you've had X, Y, and Z problems since you were 15. Now you're 35. That's 20 years. We can't undo 20 years of toxicity and trauma in a month. We just can't. But
Setting those expectations is
yeah, I'm so clear on it. It takes our, red blood cells turn over like what, every 120 days. That's 4 months. Our liver cells rejuvenate once every 300 to 400 days. That's a year. So, and like the liver, like our liver health is paramount to our whole body health. So what you do right now, what we drink right now, what we eat right now is going to affect how we look and feel in a year from now. So sometimes it's easy to lose hope if you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to feel how I want to feel for a year or look how I want to look for a year. That's not that much time. That really isn't. So in the grand scheme of things, and that doesn't mean you're not going to have improvement. You're going to have so much improvement every single day, every single week, every single month, but maybe to achieve your whole what you really want to achieve, like the full picture, that could take 6 months to a year. And I have clients, I never work with anyone for less than 6 months, period. End of story. I had one woman who we worked together for 2 months. She didn't get the results she wanted. And I refunded her money because I knew she wasn't going to continue. I didn't want to have her pay for something that she was unhappy with. And I think she wasn't clear on the fact that this is a healing process. I am not a push a button and you're fixed kind of person. And that's really what she wanted. Some people want to be fixed, some people want to be healed. I help people heal, and it's really authentic and the results are permanent. That's the difference, is like if you put a year of work in or 6 months of work in, you're getting permanent results, period, for the rest of your life, as long as you continue with healthy practices. But if you do keto for 3 weeks and lose 10 pounds, that's not sustainable.
right.
That's not sustainable. So, oh my gosh, now that's my dad.
I think we should just start adding these people into the call. But
He's a cool person. So, yeah.
all right. So before we get into that second stage, the detoxification, it sounds like you're part, honestly, psychologist, nutritionist. What about recommendations as far as activities, exercise wise? Do you do anything like that, or do you just kind of
Yeah.
say,
So
hey, listen, whatever you do, move is good?
yeah, so by the time everyone comes to me, they've tried a million things, so their body's been through a lot. And I hear a lot of, especially from women, I hear, I work out twice a day. I do an hour of cardio and then I do yoga, or I do an hour of cardio and then I do Pilates, or I run 8 miles. And then the next day I do, HIIT training and then yoga and then Pilates. And it's like, whoa. And I used to be that person. I worked out 2 or 3 times a day when I was in crisis mode myself, and I was not shedding a damn pound, not one. And the scale actually went up the other way. And I know now that was from oxidative stress. It was from chronic inflammation. My body, there was no recovery time between workouts. I was not eating enough to sustain 3 workouts. So my body wasn't going to give up any fat, any weight, because that was sort of its energy source. It was like, okay, lady, you're working out 3 times a day. You're underfeeding me. We're inflamed. We're going to hold all of this fat because we don't know when we're going to get safe next. We don't know when we're going to get rest next. So if someone comes to me and they're working out multiple times a day and they've got no physical results to show for it, and they're exhausted and they're not sleeping, I will say, go to yoga, go for a walk. That's it. Maybe Pilates. And they're like, oh my God, what about cardio? I'm like, cardio is not working for you right now. I'm not anti-cardio. I think it's great. It's great for your heart. It can be great for your body. But when you're in a chronically inflamed place with a lot of oxidative stress and your cortisol is through the roof, and you're not sleeping, why are we doing that? Let's just go for a walk, breathe, move, definitely move every single day. Yoga is, it's the best physical exercise we can do. It's cardiovascular, it's strengthening, it cleanses our lymphatic system, it calms the adrenals. It's everything. It's everything, all for the price of one. So
Definitely talk a long time about yoga, but I do appreciate that too.
yeah.
So let's talk about the heavy metals. How do you detox people? Is there a method to your madness? Like what is, I've heard so many different things, from supplements to just doing things naturally. Do you do a combination? What's your
Yeah.
approach?
It's really trendy right now to test the heavy metals because they're a huge problem. So a lot of times I'll see some come in, they're like, okay, my doctor said I have really high mercury, I have really high lead. Like, what are we going to do about it? And I'm like, all right, let's just do the intake first. Like, let me learn about you before we start pulling heavy metals out of wherever they're hiding. And generally what I will find is that someone who has a heavy metal issue has a detoxification issue at the end of the day. They're not going to the bathroom, or their kidneys aren't filtering properly, or their liver numbers are a lot higher than they should be for their age and what they're eating. So we know that their body's just natural detoxification process is not working optimally at all. So I don't touch heavy metals or heavy metal supplements or food combining for heavy metals until all of those detox pathways have opened up. Because if they're not opened up, all you're doing is picking up heavy metals and dropping them somewhere else, and maybe in a place that's worse.
Sure.
So the method to heavy metals is clean up the body fully, get every system working the best that it can, given the fact that there are heavy metals there, and then start bringing in the supplements, then start bringing in the spirulina and the cilantro. And there's a million different blends of things we can do for that. And sometimes I'll say, go to your functional doctor at this point and go get some chelation therapy because you can handle it now. I would never recommend that day one, ever. I've been at this myself in my own body for like 5 years. And last year I started chelation therapy, and I did like 10 rounds of it. And I'm like, I'm done with that now, So it's kind of the last thing we do versus the first thing we do.
Explain to people what chelation therapy is, because it's something that, people are getting into, but most people don't even know what that actually means.
Right. Okay. So it's an IV, and very simply put, there's a chelation agent, which is really a fancy way of saying like a binding agent in the IV that goes through the bloodstream and sort of binds to and picks up heavy metals. And then that gets filtered through your liver and kidneys, and then you end up excreting it out. And you don't even know you're excreting it out. It's not like you can see, copper come flying out of you. But it can be really dangerous if your body isn't ready for it. And there's a lot of physicians who say, oh my God, like, chelation doesn't do anything. Like, this is crazy. You have to sign a piece of paper that says, I am aware that chelation therapy could do nothing. And I'm also aware that it could kill me. You have to sign that release form whenever you do it. So, which is interesting. So that's what it is. And it is intense. I mean, whenever I would do it, I would feel really nauseous for definitely when I had the IV going and for hours afterwards. So definitely wasn't doing nothing. And I'm glad I did it, but I'm glad that I waited almost 5 years to get my organs and digestion in a place where it could handle that.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It is crazy. I agree. There's so much cool stuff we can be doing to clean our bodies out. And we should be doing, but there's such a system to it, and we have to be listening to our bodies and be patient with them. Otherwise we can make ourselves worse. So that's the thing. That's the scary thing right now, is that wellness is so trendy, which is amazing. And there's so much information out there, so much accessibility to things that we're not ready for, maybe. And we can make ourselves worse if we're impatient. And
Let me ask you something, because part of my intention with the podcast is to try and advance the way that things are headed in the future. Again, there's this divide between the physicians, evidence-based medicine, and everything that you are alluding to on the internet. And the idea is that, to a certain degree, you're more in this camp. I could see you, but also I could see you more in this camp. You are doing what I like. My question is, when you do you ever actually speak with the physicians? In other words, do you actually get on the phone and be like, hey, Doc so-and-so, can you have this drawn? I'm trying to work on this. And if so, are they like, who the hell are you? Or, all right, yeah, let's work together on Mrs. So-and-so.
It's both. I don't ever get on the phone and say, hey, can we check and can you draw X, Y, and Z labs? I will have the client do that dirty work themselves, and they'll go in and they'll say, hey, through some, self exploration, I've decided that I would like you to draw these labs. Or they can say, I've been working with my nutritionist and we're really trying to build up X, Y, and Z. So can you retest X, Y, and Z? And they're usually pretty receptive to it, and they'll do it. And of course they can bill it out to insurance. So there's no downside to really somebody drawing labs for their patient if they want it. Everybody benefits. And I've also had the instance where one of my clients will go to their doctor and say, oh, my nutritionist said blah, blah, blah. And the doctor says, interesting. Can I have their phone number? I'm going to give them a call. And my client will text me or email me and they're like, just FYI, my doctor is going to be calling you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I've never had a negative experience in that, because I will sort of walk through step by step why I have chosen to take this certain path with their patient and my client. I will say, this was in their blood work, that was drawn in your lab. This is why we're doing this. I had a guy who's 26 years old have blood in his stool for months and months and months and months. He had 2 colonoscopies. They found nothing. He brought his blood work to me. His his ALT was 86. And I was like, that's just a liver number for everyone who's listening. And I was like, did anyone talk to you about this number? And he was like, no. And I'm like, okay. And so all I did in the first 2 weeks of meeting him was give him a liver supportive diet, barely gave him supplements, barely. A digestive enzyme, that's what I gave him, and vitamin D, which wouldn't like stop blood in his waist. And he came back 2 weeks later and he didn't have blood at all, just from putting him on a liver supportive diet. So I thought, okay, well, liver is definitely the issue. It says so in the blood work. And this was sort of the baby test. So we worked together for a year and we supported his liver slowly because he was in such a crisis mode in his body. Really slow, gentle liver support. And then at the end of our work together, probably on month 10, we did some like really cool big detoxes for his liver and his gallbladder and his colon that were like, that was sort of like the icing on the cake. And he just got engaged and he just said to me like, I love you, but I think I'm done. Like, I feel perfect. And I was like, I love you too. And have a great wedding. And I'm so glad that you're going to have a long, healthy life. So his doctors disagreed with me though. They were like, that number has nothing to do with what you're experiencing.
Was he having actual symptoms also besides the findings of the blood in the stool, or was he just concerned about that and said, I'm going to come to you because maybe there's a diet modification I could do? Like, what was the?
Yeah, I mean, he was scared because he was, skiing with his friends in Vermont on New Year's Eve and then went to the bathroom and had all this blood. And he was like, am I dying? He was really scared and he had been to the top internists, gastros, everyone in New York City to help him. And they all said, oh, it's okay. Maybe it's a polyp. They went through, like, they found nothing. So it's just, I think that's where our healthcare system, we're kind of lacking, is there's all these specialists that look at one part of the body. And if another part of the body is in trouble, they don't address it because it has nothing to do with them.
Yeah, right. I
Holistic.
could see that. I mean, we specialize. That's the whole point. We want better care overall, so we just choose this one little particular area, get really good at it, but then you miss everything else that's happening around it that may have been the cause.
So much.
So let's change gears a little bit and let's talk about how much over the last couple of weeks has your business changed with the amount of questions regarding, COVID-19 and trying to build up immunity, or what are you seeing or hearing on from your calls and from your patients?
I mean, the first couple of days, I would say, not last week, but the week before, when things were really starting to pick up in the COVID-19 world, the calls that I had with my clients they were really panicked and they were scared and they had been panic buying, not toilet paper, because they know better than that. Also, my clients don't need to panic buy toilet paper because everyone's digestions are great at this point, but panic buying supplements that they had seen online, that they had seen on like talking to friends, different blogs, really expensive supplements that, claim to prevent you from getting coronavirus, or, if you take this, you'll be fine. And they're just taking pounds and pounds of supplements and herbs. And I said, okay, wait, let's just dial this back. First and foremost, we have to take care of your overall health. So if you're sleeping and you're eating right and you're hydrated, you're already at a head start. We have been detoxifying your body specific to its needs for months. So we know you're in a really good place. There is no need to be taking all this extra stuff that is just going to stress your body out and you don't need it. If you get COVID-19, here are the things that I would do if I got it. And I can't promise you that You won't be hospitalized, and I can't promise you that you're not going to get it because nobody's immune to this thing. This is a really contagious virus, and anybody can get it, but let's not panic about it. If we get it, we get it. And you're in a really great place because you're hydrated and you've got the nutrition and you're sleeping and you've been detoxing for months. So here are the top 5 or 10 things I would have around in your house. And there's no need to overdose on vitamin C and vitamin D, because if you do that, that's really toxic for your body. That's not good. I know you read it on a blog that it was okay to do that. I disagree. I don't want you going to the hospital for kidney stones during a COVID-19 pandemic if you don't have to, which you don't. So it's
Yeah,
been.
it would be a terrible situation for you too, because you're trying to avoid the virus and get as healthy as you can. Put yourself into a situation where you're sick a different way and have to go to the doctor and to the hospital and expose yourself. And you should just be at home doing
Right.
what you've been telling your clients to do. Just be as healthy as you possibly can.
Yeah. And also relax. Stress weakens our immune system more than anything. So relax, like you want to have a glass of wine, do it. Like relax, chill, have fun. Laughing increases our immune system, all of these things that are free to do. So it's really the simple things that can be the most helpful and beneficial, and just take care of yourself in all the ways that you've been training for during our whole time together. Like nothing really needs to change. There are things that I bought here in my house.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Actually, to be honest, they're things I already have. I just got more of them because, just in case. But I have andrographis. You know what that is?
No?
It's an herb that is antiviral and microbial, and helps your body fight off any sort of pathogen. A lot of the Native Americans it was like a Native American really healing herb that they would use really when they got anything. So that combined with ginseng can be really powerful. It's extremely bitter. So if you go out and get it, I plug your nose and don't curse my name, but I love it.
All right. So, where do you get this, and how do you take it?
Any health food store has it. Always check with your healthcare provider before starting any new supplement, herbal, or nutritional.
Good
Uh,
point.
Thank you. Protocols. And with that being said, cover my bases. You can go out and get it at any basically health food store. I'm not sure about Whole Foods, but those like neighborhood health food stores in New York City. I go to Elm Health if you guys are there and listening. Um, and they have it in tincture form or capsule form. I'm a big believer in if you could just eliminate a layer and do the tincture form and just kind of tough out the taste for 10 seconds of your day, I go that route so your body doesn't have to break down just the capsule, even though it can be made out of, something so easy to break down. I just say, drop it right in your mouth. I do a full dropper of this stuff 2-3 times a day, especially if I am sick, if I have a cold, which I have had, guys, in the last year, because I'm a human and everybody gets colds. Nobody's immune to getting colds. So I'll do full dropper of that with ginseng because it needs.
What is it called again? Because
Andrographis.
Say it again.
Andrographis.
Andrographis.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So some people say andrographis. So it depends on who you're talking to, but that with ginseng, full dropper of each kind of together. I like bee propolis, which comes from bee resin. Basically, it can be kind of sticky if you do the tincture form. So for that one, you might want to do the capsule. And I say follow the instructions on every supplement provider is different. So I say follow the serving size on every bottle, as long as you're getting a good organic, reputable source, you're going to be good. I have oil of oregano at home. I have tons of that. That one definitely want to plug your nose with. That I take as nature's antibiotic. So if I've had I used to get strep a lot before I kind of detoxed my body from the things that were causing me to get it a lot. I haven't had it in, oh my God, 4 years at least. But when I first started getting into all this stuff, I healed myself from strep twice without taking antibiotics from taking high doses of oregano oil, which I wouldn't recommend all the time because it's really intense. So you have to make sure if you take oregano oil, you also take a heavy duty dose of probiotic, just like you would if you were taking an antibiotic. So those kind of three herbs I have here: oil of oregano, B. propolis, andrographis, and the ginseng. That's for just in case. And then I have vitamin D, vitamin C. I have NAC, which is an amino acid that kind of helps your body expel mucus. I mean, it does a million other things, but one of the reasons why people are buying it up right now is because it helps your body expel mucus and thin it out. So we know that COVID-19 creates a lot of mucus in the lungs, which is really scary. So I've been kind of taking that one preventatively. And I've been drinking more wine here, so it's really good if you do drink wine to take NAC. So I have that, and that's basically it right now. I mean, I have a million other things, but that would be my COVID-19 lineup right there. If I found out that I had it, that's what I would take. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people are asymptomatic, so and they do have it. So
Right. So something I've been doing too is so obviously I'm social distancing. I'm really not leaving my house, but I have to get food. So I go to the store, and when I come home from the store, this is a little bit crazy, but I don't care. When I come home from the store, I will implement that whole protocol once. I will take everything I just mentioned once, just in case. Plus colloidal silver nose spray, also just in case, because I'm like,
what's that?
it is silver. It's colloidal silver. It's in a spray bottle, and it is antiviral. So if you kind of like have a virus on your hand and you wipe your nose and you don't know that you've done that, the spray can sort of help kill the virus before it actually enters the mucous membrane. Obviously, there's no guarantees, but anytime I fly, I do it. They have like a hand lotion you can kind of put on your hands. Same thing. But I like the nose spray because it's kind of one of the only things you can put up there. So I like that one.
All right, cool. Well, this is great information. So, any other specific patients that you would like to kind of highlight? Success stories or patients that were difficult to treat.
Yeah. And I think that like nobody is easy to treat, mostly because everybody wants results right now. That's the biggest hurdle. And the biggest challenge I have with my clients is getting them to understand the benefit of healing our bodies authentically, safely, deeply, so that the results you want so badly can last. And I love working with everybody, of course. I really do. But I think the most interesting people for me to work with are the ones that I can really relate to, that have stories similar to mine, men and women with hormonal issues, thyroid issues, all estrogen issues, everything, who are so healthy. They work out every day, 2 or 3 times a day sometimes. They eat like a bird. They're plant-based. They eat all the greens, and they are still sick, tired, overweight, have all these issues, and they don't know why. And I can't tell you how many people, women that I have helped, understand why their bodies aren't doing what they want them to do, why they have this 20 or 30 pounds on them that they think they're never going to be able to get rid of. And I actually say, hey, stop dieting and exercising, and we're just going to change it. And we're just going to heal you and detox you. And how the weight just starts to fall off, but it doesn't happen overnight. And that is the thing, is we want it to happen overnight. And it could take 6 months of really intense work for you to see anything budge. And then after 6 months, then it happens overnight, So it's like 6 month buildup, and all of a sudden you look in the mirror one day and you're like, oh my God, my pants are huge, or they fit, or I have energy to hang out with my kids, or I have my libido back, like, yay. Or man, I don't have acid reflux anymore, or pain, or gas, or chronic migraines. That's a huge one, especially for women, migraines. Um, so I really can't just pick one. That, like, what I just described is like 30 women, who have had all of those symptoms for years and years and years, and they just don't anymore. But I have a million testimonials on my website if you want to read them. And also on my Instagram, in my story highlights, there's a portion called testimonials. And those are just short, fun ones where my clients will email or text me like, oh my God, hey, I feel like myself again. I'm feeling hot. I'm feeling energetic. I'm feeling like a human. I didn't even remember what that felt like. Like, wow, I'm a person, and that's cool. So there's a million testimonials. I would love for you to go read them, whoever's listening. And
Now
yeah,
you mentioned libido. Do people actually call you with that as their primary issue, or is that usually kind of a secondary thing?
that's a good question. That is something that will come up usually in the first call if it's something that the woman is dealing with. And if a man is dealing with it, which they almost always are at some point, that will come up like 4 or 5 sessions in, once they feel comfortable and they know that I'm not going to judge them for saying they don't have a libido. Like, and I say, well, get ready because it's coming back. So lock and load, and it definitely comes up, and it's important.
So let I always try and shift things towards the end of the podcast here to the person that I'm interviewing to know a little bit more about them. Along the way, in the beginning, you did allude to this, and I certainly know. But do you practice what you preach? What is your kind of go-tos on a day-to-day basis regarding what you do food wise? Doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. What do you do for mental health, for self awareness, and then also obviously from an exercise standpoint? What is your recipe for success?
So this has been something that's taken me a really long time to figure out, because what works for me, I never thought would work for me. And I really resisted it for years and years and years. I was a high protein diet, hit training kind of girl because I thought that was how I was supposed to be. And I felt terrible. And I actually was taking a yoga class from one of my friends, and after class, she was like, do you know that when you do yoga, you look miserable? And I was like, I do. And she was like, yeah. And I said, I think it's probably because I don't feel very well. So that kind of conversation motivated me to start really waking up every day and authentically try and feed my body and move my body. So uh, I don't intermittent fast, but I will say that I don't get hungry until at least 11. I mean, it's 11:12 right now. I haven't eaten. I am not hungry at all. So as soon as I'm hungry, I will eat. Sometimes it's at 8 a.m. It really is, but I would say that's rare. I have a green juice in the morning. I have either a matcha or an espresso latte with oat milk because it's so good. Sometimes I'll have fresh fruit. I usually have a big, massive green salad for lunch with like every vegetable that's in my fridge. Whatever's there is going in. With microgreens, sauerkraut, avocados. I mean, if it's green, it's happening. I don't eat meat anymore. I used to. I'm open to the idea that at some point that could change. So I don't like to claim like, oh my God, I'm vegan, because that could change at any moment. But I have been plant-based for about 2 years, and it really, really works for me. I eat a lot of potatoes. I eat vegetables. I eat avocados. I love beans. I don't eat a lot of grains. I eat some grains, but not a ton. And I hydrate and I walk my body. I do yoga. I do Pilates, all of these things that I thought were like sissy workouts back in the day. Like I would kind of laugh. I thought it was just for like supermodels who pretended to work out. But it just feels so good. Nothing. I used to do boot camps, and after boot camp, I would feel so exhausted. I'd have to take a nap. And I thought that meant I did a good job. And now I know, oh my God, I just burned my adrenals out so hard. And I have cortisol I don't have any more cortisol left. So I'm exhausted. And now I work out and I feel like amazing after. I'm really kind to my body. Sometimes I'll get on a spin bike if I have a ton of energy and I'm like, oh, I just really want to sweat. I will get on a spin bike for no more than 30 minutes and take breaks when I feel like it. And I don't run anymore. I used to run. That sent me to the chiropractor's office because I used to run every day. I hated it. Every step I took, I was like, hate this, hate this, hate this, hate this, hate this. And I got shin splints. And one of my mentors, again, said to me, she said, Molly, you're fun. You've got a fun personality. Your physical outlet should mirror that. Otherwise it's just going to be stressful for you. So whenever you move your body, make sure you're enjoying it. Otherwise you're just stressing it out. And that is something I tell my clients now. Make sure you have fun, go to a dance class, do yoga. If you love running, you think that's fun for you, go run 100 miles, but as long as you're enjoying it. So that's what I do. And I try and just make it different every day. And I don't really, no set plan. Today I'm going to move my body, but I'm honestly not sure what I'm going to do.
That's awesome. Good.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's sustainable. It's just like going back to your plan. If you can't continue to do an exercise program, you're not going to have success. I feel the same way. I think that's the way a lot of people feel. They don't just do one thing. Mm-hmm. I try and choose, big choices on a day-to-day basis, although I'm addicted to yoga and I love everything that I get out of it. But if you have to do chores like yard work or something, that can become your exercise for the day. Moving is good.
I've been painting my shed in my backyard and my arms, I'm like so sore. My biceps are so sore just from gripping that paintbrush. So it's been interesting. So never knew that could be an exercise. It absolutely is.
By the way, how is your shoulder?
Oh my gosh, my shoulder pain from college, you mean?
Yeah.
Went away after I started doing yoga religiously, and religiously, not every day, but just after I started implementing it as a practice in my life. I used to be an equestrian, so I have a lot of like lactic acid built up in my like shoulder area, just from pulling on the reins and so many falls. I can't even tell you. But I think it was the infrared heat from the yoga studios that I was going to that really helped with the shoulder pain. And if I don't go to yoga, it comes back. So if I take weeks off, which I haven't done in a really long time, but if I do that, it comes back. So I have to keep moving, but in general, it's perfect. I mean, if I'm going to yoga at least twice a week, it's perfect. I don't even notice it.
Awesome. Are you doing live streaming of yoga or anything?
I am live streaming yoga. I haven't found the room that I like to do it the best in my house yet. I've tried like a million different options. My dog will come over and wag his tail in my face, which is annoying. But I'm doing live stream yoga. I'm doing live stream Pilates. That's actually really all I'm doing. I did buy a Peloton. I rented a Peloton. It's not here yet, so I haven't used it.
I'm sure their stock, them and Zoom, have probably gone through the roof. But
that's the thing. I wish I had thought of buying stock in one of these things.
I don't even know if they're publicly traded, but
I don't know, but I'm excited for it to come just so I can like move my body in that way gently and not every day.
well, both of us do Baptiste, and I know Baron is doing a live thing here in I think 45 minutes or something. I'm going to try and jump on. So
Me too. Maybe I'll do that too. That
shout
sounds
out to Baron Baptiste. All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's go through how people can see you, get in touch with you, go through your IG handle and your website and contact information, whatever you want to say.
So everything is Molly Rose Health. So my website is mollyrosehealth.com, and there's a contact form on there. So if you want to contact me, that's the best way. And if you want to check out my Instagram, it's just at Molly Rose Health, MOLLY. And you can DM me through there, but I wouldn't recommend it just because those get lost. So contact me through the site, check out my Instagram, read the testimonials. There's a video on both my Instagram and website on how I work. So if you're curious and you're like, I want to know more, go watch the video. I think it's pretty informative. And I hope I hear from you guys, even if it's just to say hi and connect, because that's why we're all here anyways, is to connect. So come say hi.
Thank you so much. It's great seeing you. We all love you. We all appreciate you. And thanks for helping everybody else reach a place called success. Again, Dr. J, you have any questions, obviously DM me, DM Molly Rose Hoffman. Any questions?
Molly Rose Health.
What's that?
Molly Rose Health.
Molly Rose Health. See, I wasn't even paying attention.
Okay.
This is a good way to remember it. It's not Hoffman, it's Health.
I know, that's why I did that. So thank you so much for having me, Dr. J. And I'm going to see you at yoga later, I think.
All right, I think so.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Called confusion, speed bumps called friends, and red lights called enemies. Caution signs called family, and flat tires called jobs. But if you have a spear called determination, and an engine called perseverance, with insurance called faith, and the drive to make it, you'll reach a place called success.